everybody and Lavadiena. Today I'm in a place called Elektrėnai, okay, and I thought I'd show you this place because it's a little bit different to most of the places I come to in Lithuania. This is the first time I've been here, but Elektrėnai is basically well, it was made in the 60s, let's say, so it's a new town. As you can maybe see behind me, this is what it looks like. So lots of, I suppose, those typical kind of Soviet apartment blocks, let's say. So I thought it'd be interesting to check it out because it's a little bit different. I don't know if you can guess why it's called Elektrenai from the name, maybe, but you'll find out soon because I'm going to show you and tell you more about it. So this is the town over here. Okay. Now, obviously, Elektrenai has only been a town, somewhere to live for the last 60 years. Here are also all the allotments, the gardens for people. So yeah, let's go and have a look at what there is to see in Elektrenai. So, just next to me, just here, is, I believe, the Elektrenai, what should we say, reservoir, okay? Now, there's an interesting story with this. So, I didn't mention before, but basically, Elektrenai was set up as a town or city to well, for the workers, okay, the power plant. So in, I think it was 1961, okay, the Soviet kind of Union or whatever, the people in this area decided to build a power plant, which I think you can see over there, okay, so electric power plant. And obviously they needed somewhere for the workers to live, so they made the city of Elektrenai, which you can kind of see the buildings over here, okay, for the people to live in who are going to work there. Now, that's why Elektrenai is so new, and I think what happened was they had to dam the nearest river, okay, so they also actually flooded a couple of villages. There was about, I think from what I've read anyway, something like 140 kind of families, homes, whatever, that had to be relocated, that were destroyed in the process. But the interesting thing about this reservoir, you can see it's being used for kind of a lot of things now. You can see the kind of water sports that are happening there. But this reservoir is actually a couple of degrees hotter than the nearby lakes in terms of temperature, because of, obviously, it's being used to cool the electric power plant. So the water is actually a lot warmer here than it is elsewhere in the local area. So yeah, interesting place to look at. Very different to most Lithuanian places, because obviously this is a new place. It was built in the Soviet Union, and yeah, it doesn't really have any history before that. So yeah, quite interesting to be here. So another interesting thing about Elektrenai is that until pretty recently, it actually had a theme park here. Okay, I think it's quite a big theme park, but they closed it in 2013, and then for a few years it was just left derelict, basically. So yeah, no one was doing anything, and then I think in about 2019 they started to do some work on it and change it. So that's kind of no longer there. You can't see it anymore. But for like quite a few years, Elektrenai was home to quite a decent theme park as well. So it's quite strange being here in Elektrenai, you know. Obviously I've never been to somewhere that I suppose you could actually call a Soviet city, a Soviet town, whatever. And I think there's some sort of positives and negatives of the whole thing. Like, obviously you don't have the history here, which is such a lovely thing quite often in Lithuania with the towns and cities. However, you have to look at the other side, and when they built this, they really thought of the people that were going to live here, and they laid it out really well. So, you know, I've never seen somewhere that is so well suited for pedestrians and people to walk around. You know, it's really easy to get around. Like, you can see that there would have been some positives, and there are still some positives to being here that lots of other places wouldn't have, because it was designed recently. It didn't build up just from the centre. They knew how many people were going to live here, and they built it accordingly. So yeah, it's quite interesting to be here actually. You can tell the weather's getting better, can't you? Because I've now gone from wearing a hat to having my coat on, and now I've just got my my top on. But anyway, I wanted to show you this spot in was it Elektrenai? Nearly forgot the name then. So basically, this is the Lithuanian kind of national ice hockey museum. Okay, and I think there's probably an ice hockey rink in there, or an ice rink, should I say? Because you can see the ice outside. But yeah, it's an interesting building, right? With the design, you can obviously tell on the outside it's going to have something to do with snow, right? And yeah, it's an ice rink. So, and that's based here, the Ice Hockey Museum. Okay, so you know I said about an abandoned theme park. Well, basically this is what's left. So clearly there is something here. I was wrong to say there wasn't anything, and this is what obviously was part of the theme park, and I imagine the rest of this was also a theme park too. So they have done quite a lot of it up, they've worked on a lot of it, but they've left this bit here alone. So yeah, this is definitely a relic of the past, and yeah, quite interesting to see actually. So I think somebody needs to make a database on where the world's most beautiful churches are, because honestly, I've just found another one in Lithuania. I think Lithuania must have, it's got to have the most beautiful churches in the world, right? I just can't imagine that anywhere competes. Because look at this. Look at this one. Absolutely amazing. I mean, and this is in a city built only 60 years ago, okay? So this is called, I think it's a bit of a mouthful, the name. It's like the Church of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Queen of Martyrs, I think, if I'm right. Yeah, look at this, right on the hill as well. So you know, if you're down there on the reservoir, just down there, you can see this from there. Quite impressive, I think. Looking out there, a bit of building work going on down there, so it's not looking the prettiest, but you know, and as usual, of course, you have to have a pretty amazing special cross outside a Lithuanian church, right? Here we go, here's another one. Yeah, very impressive. Now I'm quite pleased I managed to come to this church actually, because from the outside it's really, really impressive. So what can I take from my visit to Elektrenai? Well, you know, it's quite an interesting place in some regards. Okay, now it's interesting because of, you know, it's obviously a Soviet town, if you like, Soviet city, which I've never seen one of these before. Okay, it's quite interesting. It gives you a sense of perspective of maybe what, you know, the world was like back then. You know, the town itself and the city itself is actually, you know, it's quite nice. I can imagine it's probably not a bad place to live. You can see here there's loads of chaps that are fishing on the reservoir. Okay, you have this beautiful reservoir hidden behind these trees. You know, I can imagine it's not a bad place to live. And you know, I was thinking this earlier, and it's maybe a funny thought, but imagine if you're like an elderly person and you live in Elektrenai, it must be like pretty decent actually. You could have a really good, you know, quality of life, because you can get around everywhere really easily. You know, everything's pedestrianised really well. So, you know, yeah, interesting place. Probably worth having a look at if you you know, you want to explore and see something a little bit different to the typical kind of Lithuanian town or village or city. You know, I haven't seen a single wooden house in Elektrenai. So yeah, worth having a look at, and quite an interesting place. So ikke and ate visogero from Elektrenai.